So there's an awful lot to see on the Grand Canal.
You just need to know what to look for, don't you?
That's true.
The Grand Canal starts on the south side of Dublin City and travels west through Clondalkin, Sallins, Robertstown and Tullamore until it reaches the River Shannon at a spot called Shannon Harbour, just north of Banagher. In the early 1780s, the canal was extended westward from Sallins across the River Liffey and onto Robertstown. Originally, the plan was to lock down into the River Liffey and up the other side. And I'm told that the remains of a partly constructed lock chamber lie in among those trees. But the plan was changed, and now the canal turns sharply to the left in preparation to cross the River Liffey by aqueduct. More about that later.
So we're here on the Grand Canal and we're travelling west on board a friend's barge.
Yeah, Richie has invited us to do the trip from Sallins to Digby Bridge, and we're really looking forward to it.
So,
It's only a short trip, so come along with us.
That's it. We're walking.
I kind of grew up on the Shannon with my mum and dad. We had a Seamaster 29, then a 30 and an Ocean 30. There was 5 kids, so we did the length and breadth of the Shannon over many years and many different weather patterns, and just basically fell in love with water. Most of the kids have a boat now as well, sisters and brothers. So it's a big family. Terry and David, yeah, my mum and dad, yeah. So
They're not boating anymore now, they're not.
They're of an age that they like to take it easy now, yeah.
Just after that sharp bend on the southern bank, this stonework is the only hint that there was once a dry dock here. This old dry dock is partially filled in and somewhat overgrown. Unusually, this particular dry dock is quite shallow and it's more oval in shape than the normal design. Here at Soldiers Island there's a junction in the canal. From here, the Naas branch line extends a further 2 miles through 5 locks and onto the Dublin to Sligo railway bridge, as well as the M7 motorway bridge, until it reaches this beautiful old stone harbour in Naas town. The triangular island at the junction with the Naas branch is known locally as Soldiers Island. It's the only island on the canal, and some say that the name comes from the ghost of a soldier who hung himself at this spot. As we pass it by, I look over my shoulder and I can almost feel his eerie presence peering out from the trees. But another and more tangible explanation is that the island's name refers to the location of a guard post that may well have been erected there during the 1798 rebellion. At that time, canal barges were often the target of land-based pirates, and it was often necessary for their cargoes to be protected by soldiers.
I got into canals. I bought a Seamaster 27 in 2019, I think, and we did our first green and silver, and that led me to buying a barge. So having a bit of comfort on the canals, but we wanted something that could go anywhere, any stretch of water on the network. So this boat is 2'7" draft, so we can go to Barrow, we can go the Canal, the Royal, the Grand, and do the Shannon Earn, anywhere at all really. I mostly found on weekends, pottering up and down, you know. Green and silver is a circular line of the Royal Canal. You can either start at Richmond Harbour or you can start at Grand Canal Basin, and you go a full circle. So you go down, let's say you go down the Grand Canal to Shannon Harbour, up the Shannon up to Richmond Harbour, Clondra, and then you would head all the way up the Royal Canal to George's Dock and across the Liffey into Grand Canal Basin. and then you've completed a green and silver. So it's a full circle of both canals and the Shannon.
The Leinster Aqueduct is a 5-arch bridge that carries the canal over the River Liffey below. Bridges punctuate time, and nowhere else is this so true as in Sallins, because you see the Leinster Aqueduct was opened in 1783. The railway bridge over the canal near Soldiers Island was opened exactly 100 years later in 1883, and beside it the M7 motorway bridge, Ireland's first motorway bridge, was opened over the same canal 100 years later in 1983. I wonder what will bridge the canal in 2083. In the days of old, the bargemen here used to refer to this as the big pot, the little pot, the boulon and the skillet. These interconnecting circles were connected by tunnels and sluices. They slowed down excess water leaving the canal and going into a nearby stream. Yeah, it was way over complicated for what it needed to do. A simple weir would have sufficed. Why it was made so complex, I've no idea. But the thing is that this is a unique piece of canal architecture. I don't know of any other one of these anywhere in Ireland.
Not far from the pots, a solitary milestone marks the distance in Irish miles from St James's Street Harbour. At one time, canal men would have looked for these milestones when they walked a tow horse past here. Meanwhile, their barges followed silently behind. Having reached Digby Bridge, we bid farewell to the Janie Mac and her crew and wish them well on their journey along the Grand Canal to the River Shannon.
So this is one of only 2 side chambers in Ireland, and this definitely takes me back because I was here about 25 years ago, and I headed up a team of volunteers who actually built this wall here and who unearthed this side chamber after it had been filled in for many years. So I take a great bit of pride to know it's still here. The sad thing is to see the trees growing in it once again, and unfortunately people have started dumping rubbish back into it again, which is a bit of a pity.
The whole purpose of a side chamber is to help conserve water. Originally there were 2 chambers here and they were connected by a tunnel.
I hope you enjoyed that trip along the Grand Canal. As you can see, there's an awful lot to see on any stretch of canal anywhere on the Irish waterways.
And we'd like to thank Richie and Ruth for inviting us along here today. Pity the weather wasn't better, but in Ireland we get so many different weather forecasts in one day.
Yep,
you know?
4 seasons in one day.
That's what I look for, 4 seasons in one day.
Well guys, listen, I hope it encouraged you to get out there and to explore the waterways a little more. And even if you don't have a boat, you can still get out there.
You can walk it, cycle it.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys.
Cheerio.